Whoopsie daisy. There we go. Hello, everybody. Good evening and welcome to the 722nd edition of the Feuerstein's Fire American Soccer Show. I'm your host, Daniel Feuerstein. I'll give you American perspective of our clubs, leagues, players, national team, and other fabulous moments. Get your daily reading from me and other writers over at Beyond the 90 at beyondthe90.substack.com. And of course, locally for New York soccer over at baddogsports.com. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, come on in. The chat room is open on YouTube. Please go ahead and talk amongst yourselves if you like. You have a question for me, I'll try to answer it to the best of my abilities. And don't forget to subscribe here for your daily American soccer content. Now, as we move forward after the two interesting friendlies we had around the end of March, now we can talk about those games. Look, I wasn't happy with what I saw against Belgium. I know you weren't happy with what you saw against Belgium. Things might have tightened up a little bit better against Portugal, and the result wasn't that great either, but still, this is the nerves that we're going to get when, we don't know what's going to happen with this World Cup squad or whoever will be selected in that World Cup squad. Now, obviously, Patrick Ajimong is injured very terribly, non-contact injury. That's a shame. Hopefully it's not too bad, and maybe he'll be ready for this summer. Hopefully that's the case. If not, then look, it's all hands on deck. We're going to do. But if I can just say this, and I really want to stress this, you're going to get people with their opinions about how it's a disaster. You're going to get people who are going to say, no, look, this is what you expect because our national team is not that great. Here's how I see it. And, I'm not here to basically tell you who not to listen to or who not to believe or who you should listen to. If you want to believe in people like Eric Winalda, great. He has his own show. Go right ahead. The Cooligans, great. You want to listen to them. You want to take their advice. It's fine. Obviously with ESPN FC, Futbol Americas on ESPN Plus, Alexi Lawless's State of the Union podcast. You go ahead. You trust those guys. Jimmy Conrad's Call It What You Want podcast through Paramount Plus, CBS Sports Network, CBS Sports. Go right ahead. I'm not here to tell you who you should or shouldn't believe, but if you want to go with how I feel, I personally believe that our players need an attitude adjustment. I believe our players need to fix themselves, and they need to fix themselves correctly and quickly, because this is it. When the roster gets announced, the next bunch of friendlies, end of May, beginning of June, are more towards tune-ups for the World Cup itself. All the window dressing is over. The matches will be here. The matches will be real. And it means nothing if you do not have the right mindset to go out there and show what you can really do. Yeah. Paraguay, Australia, Turkey. Those are teams that you cannot mess around against. Those are teams you cannot assume it's a cakewalk. You can't. Yeah, it's a favorable draw, but still, though, you have to go out there and you have to prove it, not just to yourselves, but to all of us who watch you, because we're waiting to see what is going to happen. Because if it's 3 and out and you're grouped, it's over with. It's done. It's 3 matches and over. Now, we don't know what will happen because obviously there's now the round of 32, which means if they get one of those special third round or third place spots to advance, then they're going to be lucky. But I'm here to tell this to all of you right now. This situation with our national team stinks to high heaven. It does. Trust me, I don't want to be here to tell you that they're a waste of time, because I don't want to say that. But the way they act sometimes on the pitch, it gives you that feeling. And all I want them to do is to get their heads out of their rear ends and show what they are made of. You cannot go half-assed and assume you've got it in the bag, because you don't. I don't care how great you are. I don't care which clubs you play for, either in MLS or in Europe. It does not matter. And once again, this is to all of you who would rather see all Americans in Europe than having Americans who play in MLS be on this national team, because guess what? It has to be even, Steven. There's got to be, whoever gets it on merit should go. That's either players from Europe or players in MLS. And what I want to see from U.S. soccer is the ending of the coddling of certain players who should be on this team but act like they don't belong on this team. Because you need to have an attitude adjustment. When you talk to players, or you see those players like Marcelo Balboa, like Tab Ramos, like Tim Howard, like Landon Donovan, they bled for the crest. They bled for the country. They bled for the shirt. And it feels like at times some of these players, regardless where they play, you know, regardless where they play, it does not matter to me. As long as you bleed for the national team jersey and you bleed for the crest, that's all that matters. And until they fix themselves, it's going to look like a big freaking mess. All I want is to see these guys actually doing a job and doing it the right way. Because they need to understand that everyone's playing for keeps now. Everyone is going out there and they want a piece of the action, period. And if they don't understand that, you're not going to perform at that level, then guess what? You're done for good. And then you go back to a new cycle, and then qualifying is underway, because you're no longer taking the entire cycle off anymore. The next World Cup in 4 years, Morocco, Spain, Portugal, you're qualifying now for a spot. Don't waste this opportunity to go out there and show the world what you're truly made of. Period. Do not screw this up. Our guys have to go out there. Forget your Instagrams. Forget your social medias. Forget your pictures, your selfies, your videos. Oh, this is my girlfriend. This is my crib. This is my car. This is my dog. This is my cat. Forget all that. This is my house. Forget all that. Go out there and perform and do the damn job you're supposed to do. Because once again, there's a new round called the round of 32. And you got to get past that to go to the round of 16 once you get out of the group. There's no more screwing around, guys. No more. Either get the job done or go home. Go back to your clubs. I don't care where you play. It does not matter what jersey you wear or what continent you're on. You are an American player. You are for the U.S. men's national team. You are representing Americans on the pitch, at the bench, in your locker room, and around the 50 states of this wonderful nation. It's time to put up, it's time to put up or shut up. So get the damn job done right. Go out there against Paraguay, against Australia, against Turkey, and do the damn job. If you do your job and you don't win the match, you know what? You gave it an honest effort, and we appreciate you. If you get a draw, great. If you get a win, fantastic. But then when you get out of the group, it's what you do afterwards. And when you go into those games, you have to put on a show. And I'm not talking about bright lights, big city. I'm talking about be a hard hat guy, a lunch pail guy, and go out there and prove to everyone here at home why this national team is going to do great things in this World Cup. Prove everyone around the world why we Americans are now, the upcoming national team internationally and ready to go for this World Cup. Be ready, be strong, be mentally strong, and don't screw up. This is not a game anymore. Your footballing world is on the line. Go out there and show them what we're made of. You're supposed to be the golden generation. Act like it. Period. That's all I want. And that's all I care about. Results on the pitch, not what goes on off the pitch. I don't care about Christian Pulisic's love life. I don't care if him and his girlfriend are no longer together. That doesn't concern me. What concerns me, wins. Get out of the group. Who's next? Win the round of 32. Who's next? Win the round of 16. Who's next? Win the quarterfinal match. Who's next? Win the semifinal match. Who's next? Win the final. Raise that little golden trophy over your heads on the podium at MetLife Stadium, and then tell the entire freaking footballing world, we are on top. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to watch, and that's what I want to witness myself. But if you can go far, if you can make it to a certain level in the knockout stages and you just miss it by a goal or two, then fine, you did your best. You showed us that you're ready to go and that you're ready to dominate on the world stage for the future, and then you qualify for the next World Cup. But always remember, put on a good show, but at the same time, blue-collared work on the football pitch. Period. Period. It's no more messing around, no more social media, cars, pets, girls, cars, houses, where do I play? No, that's gone. That's out the window. Finito. Go out and do the damn job. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you about this segment's sponsor. It is Dino Luzzi Energy Drink. When I need that extra kick to power through match analysis and late night transfer rumors, there's only one energy drink that delivers authentic Italian energy, and that's Dino Luzzi, crafted in Italy with the same passion I bring to this show, because real energy comes from real ingredients, just like real soccer talk comes from real insiders. Ladies and gentlemen, my first guest tonight, I had to do a recording with him, Mr. Ben Jacobs from Give Me Sport in England. had a nice sit down with Jesse Marsch, of course, the American manager for the Canadian men's national team. And we're going to discuss why U.S. Soccer said, come on in. And then all of a sudden, U.S. Soccer said, don't come on in, you're out. And here's that recorded interview right now.
And welcome back to the American Soccer Show here. Daniel Feuerstein along with Give Me Sports famous writer. To me, he's famous because that's the only guy I know right now from that publication. Of course, it's Ben Jacobs, who's been tremendous covering Canadian men's head coach Jesse Marsch. And Ben, welcome to the show. And how are you today, sir?
Thanks so much for having me. I'm live from Atlanta, and unlike the UK, as you can probably see in the background, we've got some blazing sunshine.
Yeah, it's really weird for you, isn't it? All this sunshine coming in from in Atlanta. When usually I hear all these stories about gloomy days and overcast.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I would leave for the US soccer games that I've just covered, and it would be boiling, and you'd be plastered in sun cream walking up to Mercedes-Benz, and then you'd get inside and the roof would be on, and you'd need this hoodie that I'm wearing. So I've gone from hot to cold throughout the last 2 days. And I know we're here to talk about Canada, but it was very interesting seeing those 2 warm-up games for the US men's national team, and Mauricio Pochettino's got some big decisions ahead.
Yes, he does. And I think I may know who he will pick, but I really believe that it's going to be those, I think the nook and cranny players that you want to hope he picks correctly to mesh with the regulars who he'll pick. Obviously, McKennie, Pulisic. I think Matt Freese solidified himself as the number 1 goalkeeper, but that's just my opinion, of course, from his performance on Tuesday against Portugal. Hopefully we'll see what happens. Maybe Gio Reyna will be selected as well. But I think there'll be a couple of question marks. We'll find out what he does in around the end of May, this upcoming on the calendar. But I want to talk to you about Jesse Marsch, obviously, American head coach for the Canadian men's national team. He has done wonders since his appointment with Canada. He's put them into a third. He finished 4th place in the Copa America last summer. He has been great with the players that he has been selecting for the national team. Obviously, injuries do come here and there. But, from your perspective, talking to him and seeing him manage, obviously, what's your thoughts of Jesse?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, he's motivated and invested in the role, whereas with Mauricio Pochettino, the contract is expected to end after the World Cup. But of course, that allows Pochettino to put everything on this tournament. Jesse Marsch told me that he's already started talks to potentially renew. And one of the most striking, if not most headline-worthy answers that he gave me was how he feels Canadian. He's invested in Canadian soccer. So this isn't just about a home World Cup. This is about a project to Jesse Marsch. And of course, he's extremely amicable and passionate and wears his heart on his sleeve. So he's the right fit for a developing country that have under him progressed in ranking and stand a very realistic chance, I think, of winning Group B. As you say, some injuries need to be factored in, particularly Alphonso Davies, who was out for a long period, came back in December, picked up another muscle injury. He should be fine for the World Cup, barring any surprises. But of course, Jesse's not been with his captain and arguably most important player over the course of the last 6 to 9 months. And that is one factor. Jonathan David, since moving to Juventus, hasn't scored as many goals as he has done historically at other clubs. But Jesse's quite confident that he's the type of character that won't really be knocked by that lack of goal scoring rhythm at the moment. And then there's a few big selections that he still has to make, a bit like Mauricio Pochettino. He doesn't know his number 1 goalkeeper. There's some periphery players. Jadon Nelson is one example at Vancouver that are facing a wait to see whether they make the squad. And I think Jesse's perspective is this expanded World Cup will need a lot of rotation as well. So he's not the kind of manager to fix on an 11 and then just stick to it. He's constantly tried different tweaks. He's quite flexible tactically, and hopefully that will bode well for Canada. But the key thing, in my opinion anyway, which is a bit different to the US men's national team, is for Canada the importance of winning the group is paramount, because if they do that, they stay in Canada. That could have big permutations for how far they go. If they don't win the group, they go outside of Canada and suddenly you lose your home advantage.
Very true. What did you make about before Jesse, when John Herdman took over for Canada's men's national team, I would say maybe a cycle and a half ago? What differences do you see from him and Jesse, or what similarities as well?
Yeah, I think John Herdman built a lot of the foundations and then obviously left for Toronto FC and is now at Indonesia, by the way. And what John had in his advantage, I think, was the sort of bones of Canadian soccer, because remember, he'd not just been the Canada manager for a long period of time. Prior to that, he'd managed Canada women as well. So he was ingrained in the culture and almost the pre-World Cup aspect. He had been a part of an Olympics. He had managed in the CONCACAF Nations League. He travelled, therefore, up and down Canada. He read the room and the fan base. He wasn't necessarily unanimously popular. And then Jesse comes in and perhaps inherited the same kind of divisive reaction, because a lot of people were obviously first and foremost questioning not his managerial credentials, which I think was a bit unfair on Jesse, but it's the reality of when you take over a nation and you don't share that nationality. So some were naturally saying, why is an American managing the Canada national team at a World Cup? Many fans may have known about some of the backstory regarding how close he was to taking the US men's national team. So Jesse, like when he came in at Leeds United as well, had to win over the fan base and play a bit of the optics game. But from what I understand, the players are very Jesse Marsch-like. They took to him very quickly. He's tactically flexible. He makes players train hard. It's very easy just to categorize him as a Red Bull manager. But he's much more than that. Of course, you inherit from Red Bull the kind of Ralph Rangnick philosophy. And what that means is that Jesse Marsch teams are going to be high pressing, super aggressive. They're going to want a lot of the ball. But Jesse's put his own stamp on this team. He plays with a lot of width. He makes a lot of in-game tweaks that are quite tactically surprising. He's not that fixated on a set formation. Ralph Rangnick a bit more so. And what we see in Jesse is basically an amalgamation of his Red Bull upbringing. And let's not forget some of the top players that he's had a hand in their development, including Erling Haaland, but also Bob Bradley. And Jesse's life learning from Bob Bradley started at Princeton and has gone all the way through to his professional career. The synergy between Rangnick and Bradley and Marsch is the man management and the desire, despite the detail and the philosophy, to try and alleviate pressure from his players and give them that spontaneity and that freedom to both do things that go against potentially some of the tactics at times and not be chastised for it, and to embrace making mistakes. And clearly Jesse's philosophy and approach is to have a wide rotational pool of players to allow them the freedom to make mistakes in the build-up to the World Cup, in the hope that they won't do it at this home tournament. And the last point that's probably worth noting is that Jesse's approach to this role comes not just through Bob Bradley, but also more specifically through the 2010 World Cup, where he was assistant to Bob Bradley at that tournament. And you may remember America were 3 minutes from going out, having got an incredibly credible draw against England. And then they got that late winner, Landon Donovan, against Algeria. And they went from 3 minutes away from being out to 3 minutes later winning that game and topping the group. And I think Jesse, in a microcosm, understands that drama and how football can turn so quickly. So he's trying to encourage his players to not just replicate the tactics and the philosophy, but show leadership and decision-making in high-pressured moments. And if he's trained his squad right to do that, hopefully we're going to see Canada go far at this World Cup.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. The one thing in your article with Jesse, of course, what happened with him and the U.S. Soccer Federation. 1 minute he's the manager of the U.S. men's national team, and then all of a sudden he's not. Have you ever seen that happen in international football? Have you ever seen an FA who, they have their man and then all of a sudden they let him go without, completing the task of signing him for someone else?
Yeah, it's definitely a wild story. And remember, they didn't sign him for somebody else per se. They went back to Greg Berhalter, which was maybe a little bit of a surprise. And then in the end, Pochettino had to wait quite some time before he came into his current role. It's definitely a unique story. I should point out, as we do in the article, that US Soccer declined to comment. Jesse, on record, described it as follows, that he was at Leicester City actually fingerprinting, which means he was going through the formal process to get his work visa to take the Leicester City job. And that was relatively soon after leaving Leeds United. And from Leicester's perspective, the now chairman, who's known as Top, and also the sporting director, John Rutkin, were with Jesse at their training ground. And John Rutkin's plan was to take Jesse Marsch to a game against Bournemouth that day. I believe it was April the 8th, a couple of years back. And Jesse gets a call whilst he's basically just doing the formalities with an agreement in principle in place. And as Jesse recounts it, it's US Soccer, and they say to him, "We want you to be the manager." And you can imagine from Jesse's perspective, being so close to Leicester, that he must have been led to believe that job was his, to somehow get out of signing the paperwork for the Leicester City gig within 12 to 24 hours, only to find within the same period US Soccer changed their mind. So this was, according to Jesse, in my article and his words, not about US Soccer and Jesse not coming to an agreement. It was about Jesse feeling like he needed to reject Leicester to take the US men's national team job, only for US Soccer to have a different perspective. Now, US Soccer have declined to comment on the specifics, but it's worth pointing out that when Berhalter came back, that was not at the point when they made a call to Jesse Marsch. So something happened that Jesse didn't want to go into, and you can understand why, that resulted in him thinking he had the US men's national team job as a lock, only to find basically a day later that there was a change of approach, and that meant that he could no longer go back to Leicester City. And I think it's worth noting that story, because the fingerprinting part and being at Leicester is new, is going to make a lot of headlines. And it's very easy to take the quote where Jesse says he was devastated and angry and think of this as Jesse then going to Canada to kind of prove a point to the US. And he has, of course, beaten them a couple of times during his tenure as well. But in his tone, and I encourage people to watch the video, not just read the article, there's no animosity. And it's really important to hear the full answer, where he speaks of no hard feelings, his full focus being on Canada, it being a blessing in disguise, because he thinks that Canada's a better fit for him than the US men's national team. So I think where I empathize with Jesse is, unfortunately, every time he faces the US now, or he collides with them potentially in a tournament like the World Cup, he's going to be pushed and asked about how close he was to becoming the US men's national team manager, when actually he's over it. He doesn't care anymore. It's all worked out for the best. And his job with Canada is about a passion for a home World Cup and developing a football nation that he's got synergy with. It's not about getting revenge against the US. It's not about proving a point. International management maybe wasn't something that he thought of when he left Leeds, but he also points out that before Kevin Blue came into Canada Soccer, there were conversations even then giving him the opportunity to go to Canada. But after Kevin Blue came in, that was the pivotal figure in terms of pitching to Jesse what this project is all about, that made him change his mind about Canada, or perhaps more accurately, speak more seriously to Canada Soccer, eventually resulting in him taking this job.
Well, look, I'm happy for Jesse. You know, he's got a great job right now as the men's head coach for Canada. I can't wait to see what he'll do this upcoming summer for the World Cup. He's already proven to me he can lead a national team into a tournament style of football internationally with that Copa America that was here in the United States last summer, 2000. Actually, I say 2 summers ago, 2024. So I'm excited to see what he'll do here for this upcoming World Cup, and hopefully he'll lead Canada to a deep run. We'll see what happens. But Ben, I have to ask you, what was it like being in Italy at his house and being with all the olive garden out there that he has? Did he give you any jars of olives from his?
The olive trees are still growing, but it's fascinating because Jesse is the most generous person with his time. He's so amenable and sociable, and that will no doubt reflect in his dressing room as well, where I'm sure the players will want to wear their heart on their sleeve for their country, but their manager as well. And where he lives is a former Airbnb, and from the balcony outside, you can see the Leaning Tower of Pisa on a clear day. And he was telling me he gets up at sort of 7 a.m. and tends to his olive trees. He's building a bocce court, which is obviously a popular Italian game. So you walk up the hill through a few trees. His 2 little adorable pugs will be following him for their morning walk. And then the stones are all laid out to allow him to wind down maybe by playing some of that particular sport. And then by about midday, he comes back down. And of course, anyone in Europe has finished training, and anyone in North America that he has to deal with is then suddenly available to take meetings with. So it's the perfect kind of work-life balance. And I think he gets a lot of thought time whilst doing his gardening. Maybe one day he was telling me that he'll make some wine as well to really prepare thoroughly. And a lot of people tell me the same thing, by the way, that maybe didn't think international management was for them, but then went into international management and they suddenly see this work-life balance and they really enjoy it. And they understand that football is all consuming as a domestic club coach. I think it's partly why Jurgen Klopp also hasn't gone straight back into management. It's why Gareth Southgate, the former England manager, has had options, but again, chosen not to immediately dive into a club job. And once you've understood that as an international coach, the stakes are arguably much higher because you play less games. You've got to qualify, you've got to do well at major tournaments, and then you have big gaps in between. But it just seems to suit Jesse's style and personality, and he's blessed, really. He's got a wonderful family. I was fortunate to meet his wife as well, who's got Italian citizenship. Like I say, never going to turn down an interview where dogs make cameos as well. And it just seems right for him, which is why I'm sure that he's going to make a real success of this World Cup. And on the World Cup, you mentioned before about how they might do. I think it helps them massively that Italy have gone out. And I found it fascinating that Jesse Marsch, who wants a challenge, was telling me, bring on Italy. But Jesse Marsch, the pragmatist, understood that if Italy qualified, their first game on June the 12th in Toronto against Italy may not actually perversely have felt like a home World Cup game, because there's 500,000 Italian Canadians in Toronto. So suddenly you lose the Italian Canadians, and in likelihood that first game becomes difficult. So then if you're trying to win the group and you were to lose to Italy in that opening game, you've got work to do against Qatar and Switzerland. Now it's home to Bosnia. Obviously, what we should point out about Bosnia is that they did incredible to qualify, and nobody should be talking about Bosnia as being an easier game in football terms. And the Italian team, you may remember, 2 of them anyway, were watching Bosnia beat Wales on penalties to face Italy. And some of them, including Vicario, were celebrating. And look how that turned out. So I know Jesse will not in any way say in football terms that Bosnia is an easier or a better game. But home World Cups are about marginal gains and advantages. And one thing that's for sure away from the football, and with no disrespect to Bosnia, is atmosphere-wise in terms of maximising away from the actual football that home advantage. Now, Toronto will be full of Canadians and Italian Canadians all supporting Canada at this World Cup. And that, in terms of atmosphere inside the stadium, will definitely benefit Canada comparative to having to have faced Italy in that first game.
Absolutely. It should be interesting to see what they'll do against Bosnia-Herzegovina. So that first matchup on June 12th over in Toronto. So it should be exciting. But Ben, I've had a great time with you here on the show. I appreciate your time, spending some time here with me to talk about Jesse. I hope you have a great day and talk to you again soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for the invite. Keep up the good work and hope we'll cross paths at the World Cup.
I hope so too.
All right, that was Ben Jacobs from Give Me Sport after that interesting situation with Jesse Marsch. And of course, now with the Canadian men's national team as their head coach. Joining me now is a gentleman. Him and his partner, Uncle Ed, had I would say, a successful visit to the brand new stadium over in downtown Miami. Of course, that's Inter Miami's new stadium. To talk about it, the one and only from Futbol Miami TV, Pieter Brown. Pieter, welcome back. I see you're relaxed, you're comfortable, you're feeling really good. I am a little bit upset with you at this point in time because I watched your video and you're not wearing your bling, sir.
No, not that was a $60,000 necklace I was wearing. Can you believe it?
I know. Who's that? Is that Miami's version of Jacob the Jeweler? What the hell, man?
I mean, it's our friend that has a lanyard business, basically. And so, he's got one hell of a lanyard holder. And the video doesn't do it justice because this thing sparkled, and definitely, caught people's attention. People stopped. And I was his show pony for that thing.
Oh, you were more than just a show pony. You were the model. That's for sure. I thought you were going to go up and down where the food service beverages were. And I was going like, come on, Pieter, stretch your stuff. Let's go. Come on. Show us what you got, man. Show us.
We were really fortunate and to be hooked up and sat in the VIP area, got loge seats, which, up until recently, I never even heard the word loge. I didn't know what it meant. I don't think I can afford the word loge. But we were really, really lucky. We had access to the new club and then also the West Club. West Club is the top, the entire West Side, basically, and the new club is below that. So we were really, really fortunate to have a very unique experience, or at least unique for us.
Absolutely. I mean, look, I can definitely tell you when I got to Red Bull Arena back in 2010, walking around the promenade, seeing seats, seeing, Jumbotron, seeing a goal net, no NFL lines, no grid lines, no 20, no 30, no 10, no end zone, nothing. Just pure football. And it was just something you felt you were like something special is in front of your eyes right there. And I can definitely tell you, for me, now called Sports Illustrated Stadium, it has a German feel. I would say new stadium is a South American, I would say maybe a Brazilian feel, maybe an Argentinian feel, you would say, with new stadium?
I mean, with the fans, yeah, but I keep hearing people just referring it to a more European design. So I don't know. It's unique to MLS, that's for sure. And right now, as of today, I think whenever an MLS team builds a new stadium, I think the goal needs to be, or should be, to be the best stadium. So you have to one up the one before you. And I think Inter Miami has definitely done that. I know everybody's going to sit there and say, I've heard a lot of great things about the Cincinnati Stadium. And I know people will say great things about that one and also the St. Louis Stadium. And I haven't been to those stadiums, so I can't talk about it firsthand. But just from watching it on TV, I think this stadium definitely has those beat. And it should, right? Because you should learn from the people before you and improve upon it. And I think they have. They learned a lot from their experience with their temporary stadium, which is still a pretty darn nice temporary stadium in Fort Lauderdale. But this is just a whole nother level. And look, going into new stadium, you kind of feel like, should I have my construction hat and my work boots? Because around the stadium it is an ongoing construction site. And this stadium definitely came under some fire. People saying it should not open. It needs a few more months. We as fans deserve better. It's going to be rush. It's going to be cheaply done because it's a rush job. And so I was reading a lot of that stuff on social media. I was actually going into it looking for things to nitpick, looking to be let down potentially. And I couldn't find much. Sure, there's a few little things. You have to take the construction zone out of the equation because it's going to be that way for several years. They're building hotels and restaurants and all that. So it's going to be a mess for a while. But once you're inside, it is beautiful. There's a few things that, they'll have to work on, like some seat numbers fell off, right? And there's some little, things that I'm sure were rushed and maybe they didn't use the right glue. I don't know. But it was an impressive stadium. Really, really nice. Excited to have it in our backyard here.
I got a picture of a new stadium on the inside just for everyone to take a look. I mean, that's amazing to see what it looks like inside. Obviously, all the seats, pink, black, a little bit of white here and there, maybe some gray, of course. Color the flamingo. Yep, don't forget the gray.
I don't understand the gray though. Now, and you said flamingo. We are not the flamingos, Daniel. We're the herons. Now
the herons. I apologize, but I can't help it. Flamingos are pink.
Maybe they should have been flamingos, right? But they went herons. We're the herons. We're not flamingos. Yes. And and our heron is actually white. It's the great white heron. But with the design of the stadium, the one thing that there's a couple things that I can nitpick about. I don't fully understand. I understand the speckled seats. That's common nowadays. It happened at Chase Stadium, Drive Pink, whatever you want to call it, Lockhart. It happened there, right? And it's happening I saw it's happening in the new Buffalo Bills stadium. So, I mean, that's kind of the new thing, right? Speckled seats. What I don't fully understand is the gray. The gray I don't get because gray is not part of our logo. I just wonder, in the rush to get the stadium done, did they just run out of pink seats? Because it is a little odd. Now, you don't really notice it when the stadium's full because it's full, right? But when you're looking at an empty stadium like this, I think it would look way better if it was all pink. Now, I understand where the supporters sit is going to be kind of gray because that's metal so that they could be loud and all that kind of stuff. But everything else, it should be pink with a little bit of black, a little white. I'm okay with that part, but I want more pink. But it's done. So what can you do?
Yeah. No, what can you do? 26,700 is the full capacity of new stadium. I always thought 25 would be the tops, but going a little over that, that's fine by me. I don't care. Look, you can do whatever you want with it. And, you fill it from the first row to the last. Fine by me. That's great to see.
Yeah. The stadium capacity has been a huge talking point, especially with our commenters. And, look, our channel, because we have Messi, we have a lot of people that are watching our content that are from outside of the MLS circles, right? They don't maybe fully understand the MLS and also the sports market that is South Florida. I think 26.7 is perfect. It's great. A little bit more than 25, so nobody can complain. But constantly people are saying, "Oh, it should have been 50,000, should have been 40,000," all that stuff. And I constantly reply to people saying, "Well, do you want half the stadium to be empty?" Because yes, sure, when Messi goes to somebody else's hometown, goes to Dallas or DC, yeah, it fills 60, 70,000 seats. But week in, week out, in this tough sports market that we have, that's not going to happen. So I think this is a right sweet spot. And it also, smaller numbers, this is more the business side, shows scarcity, right? So they could charge more for the tickets. So you're gonna, I was looking at our seats, and we sit in this 200 level normally, not this week, but we normally will sit in the 200 level, and those seats were going for over $300 each. So they, they're definitely gonna, be expensive to go to a new stadium, and part of that is potentially the lower capacity. But, that first year, it's going to be sold out probably every game. But we'll see, long term. I think it's a sweet spot. And also, you got to take into consideration and being right next to the airport, you couldn't go any higher. If they did build more seats, they would have had to make the bowl go out more. And now you're further away from the action. Nobody wants that. And they already had issues where they had to lower it a little bit. They've got height issues. You can't launch fireworks above the stadium. There's all kinds of height problems being right next to the airport. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Where I'm from, obviously New York City. There's trains all over the place, subway, commuter, Amtrak, and seeing the video by Tri-Rail, having the airport Tri-Rail station just across that little water viaduct between the stadium and the train station, and apparently everyone loved it. Everyone went. I understand there's the Miami Metro Mover station that's also
Metro
part
Rail.
of the airport set up there for the rental cars and for the parking garage and for the airport monorail system, of course. Everyone made it, and everyone was able to take transit. How did you drive with Ed, or you took the Tri-Rail?
No, and actually, we will have perfect segue to promote our video coming out tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., where I'm going to take you through the entire process going from Pompano Beach, which is an hour north of the stadium. I'm hopping on the Tri-Rail, and I show you how easy it is to commute from the Tri-Rail. We also show in the video us walking to the stadium, the 15-minute walk at a leisurely pace. Sure, you could walk a little faster. It got held up by a traffic light. It was a 15-minute walk, about 0.6 miles, right? So not even a full mile, about a half a mile, a little over half a mile, easy walk. But we'll show you that entire process, including coming back. So we got there early because we wanted to take in the full festivities. I got on the train for a 7:30 game. My wife was a little questioning this at first. For a 7:30 game, I got on the 2 p.m. train. She's like, we're getting there. So that means we're going to get to the stadium at 3:16. She thought that was crazy. I wasn't the only one. Tons of Inter Miami fans getting there early, and it was fun. It was easy. It was stress-free, and it cost $5. $5 round trip, not $5 each way. $5 round trip versus parking in the stadium, spending $50 to park, having to battle with traffic, which Ed went and drove. He got there early as well. Traffic wasn't a problem getting there. Getting out was a little more difficult, but still wasn't the end of the world for him. It took about, I think, around 30, 45 minutes to get out, which for a stadium, that's kind of normal. But the stadium, I've seen some people poking fun that this is not necessarily a downtown stadium, because Garber said it had to be a downtown Miami stadium. This is not downtown. It's close enough. It's probably even better being next to the airport, there is the Miami Intermodal Center. So there's this Tri-Rail, Metro Rail, Metro Mover combination station right there. So it's really, really easy to get to. The big concern that some of us had was Tri-Rail, generally speaking, does not run late enough. Their last train is like 9 p.m. Game's not over yet. Well, they did have a special train waiting for us, and they said that they would wait 45 minutes after the game. So if the game went late, it's whatever the game ends, 45 minutes you have to get to the train station. I pretty much went right away, stopped, talked to our old friend Franco Panizo for a minute, and then leisurely, kind of made my way, not so leisurely, but made my way to the train station. Took me about 30 minutes with having a few conversations along the way to get to the train station. They actually waited an hour. So I easily was on the train, just chilling out, and got back to Pompano, where I had parked my car for free at the Tri-Rail station. So it is a huge success. South Florida is not necessarily a, rail community. We're not a mass transit community. We sure were on Saturday. And if you saw any videos of people taking the Metro Rail, the Metro Rail for those of people that were in Miami and not wanting to park. They took the Metro Rail, standing room only. It looked like you're in New York City. It's crazy. It was impressive.
It really is. And I really think Tri-Rail should really add more than just one train. I really think they should have at least 2 trains. I mean, I think there's 4 tracks that arrive and depart trains over there. I think they should at least have maybe 2 or 3 trains to depart to head back home after these Inter-Miami games, whether it be a weekday or a weeknight or a weeknight match or a weekend match. I think that would serve them 10 million times better if that is possible.
We did get confirmation from Tri-Rail that they did have trains on standby. So if this one filled up to capacity, and everybody for the most part had a seat, there was 2 guys and their kid that were sitting in the aisleway. And they may have been able to find another seat on another train, another car, if you will, in the train. I don't know how many cars are in the 4, 5. I don't know. I just got in the first one there was, because I was worried of it leaving without me, and also getting a seat. No problem, got a seat. So they said they do have trains on standby if needed. So that's good news.
That's great news. That's fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. And of course, I understand a very special guest was in the stadium. The governor of the state of Florida, Ron DeSantis, was there.
I thought you were going to say Ronaldo.
I mean, well, no, he's always there. He's always going to be there. Come on now.
As I call him,
Ronaldo's old news.
Fat Naldo.
Yeah, Fat Naldo, exactly. Yeah, the killer of the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. Who said that? No.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
governor was there, and the governor might be wanting to look in, see how it's going, because the state of Florida did grant Inter-Miami or /Miami about $8 million to improve the roadways, which has not happened yet. Obviously, that they had to just get the stadium open, so improving roadways that'll take time. Who knows when that'll get done? Not my problem, since I'm going to take the Tri-Rail. But he might be checking in on seeing, make sure the money he kind of sent our way is going to be used correctly. But he seemed to be having a good time.
That's good. I'm glad to see that. And of course, the Moss brothers is there. David Beckham is there.
Gave a hell of a speech.
Great stuff. Oh, I bet he did.
They all did. They gave a hell of a speech. The Moss, Jorge Moss himself, he is a hell of a he could get people fired up. And he was speaking in Spanish. I don't even know what he was said, and I was ready to run through a brick wall. Right, so I don't even know what he was saying, and I was ready to go. So the stadium looked beautiful. One of the things about the stadium that I thought was interesting is the lights. They felt almost closer. It was just so well lit, so bright compared to Chase Stadium. It's just it was so loud in there. The acoustics in there. It's whereas at, say, Chase, obviously the sound kind of flew away. There were roofs over 2 of the stands, the east and the west, but this was built with acoustics in mind, and it was just so loud in there. It was definitely a goosebump moment. So all these dignitaries that were there, they did get a hell of an experience.
No, they really, really did. And what also made me feel very good about the new stadium, I should say, seeing all of the pictures. Yes, you got your complimentary cup. I see that right there. But seeing all the pictures of Inter-Miami players, plastered all over the place. Look at that. Look at that scarf. Look at this. Show it all off, Peter. Show us what you got. Look at that.
A very overpriced scarf, but I got it.
Look, you gotta do it, man. You gotta.
It only happens once. It's got the date on it.
Exactly.
Sorry, what were you saying before I was doing show and tell?
Just saying, all the pictures of the players plastered all over the stadium walls, on the outside and around the concourse, just to see all that happen, and just it truly makes it feel like a real home field advantage,
It looked great. And I'm excited to go again this weekend, because there's a whole other half of the stadium I did not see. So when you're going in as VIP, you're kind of ushered into a very specific entrance. And if you watched in our game day vlog that Ed filmed, it's very grand. It almost has an airport kind of look to it. From there, you're going in an elevator up, or did we take an escalator? I don't remember. But they do have an elevator.
I saw the escalator.
Escalator.
Yeah,
they do have an elevator as well, though. So we
Okay.
took the escalator, and we only saw, where the well-to-do like to hang out, which made sense with my $60,000 necklace. But the entire west side is club, and that's the only thing we saw, because that's not kind of an area I'm going to get to sit in very often. So I'm not leaving that area. I'm going to take it all in for everything it's worth. But next week we're sitting with the regular schlubs, and we're going to be just like everybody else. And I'm excited to see what kind of food they have. Hopefully because there were some issues, because my wife did go, and she sat in my normal seats that was a weird thing, because I had to say to my wife that I'm going to go sit with in the fancy section. You go sit with my other friends in the normal section. And she was all for it, though. She didn't mind. But I did hear reports that there were issues with the food lines. They weren't operationally. They have a lot of things they still need to work on, which is no surprise. But you did have some people. A friend of mine, his wife, was not happy the fact that there were massive lines just to get some simple food. So that's definitely some areas that hopefully when we go this weekend to face the Red Bulls, it's where they've worked out some of those kinks. Hopefully they get their occupancy license, which then maybe they can open up more areas as well that could have played a part in it. So I'm excited just to see all the other side of the stadium, and because so far it is definitely beautiful. Like, for example, I didn't walk up those big steps. That they're iconic looking, right? We took the escalator.
Hey, gotta go the easy way, man.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Exactly.
Content's hard to film. We got to suffer for the views.
Exactly. You have to, or else, you won't make. I mean, you already had your drool moment. Everyone needs to see your drool moment so they can drool.
Yeah, that's it.
It's just a crazy. I have to tell you, going inside a new stadium is, for the first time ever, it's like, you get you unwrap a present, whether it be for your birthday, for Christmas or Hanukkah, or even just, for the heck of it. We got a surprise for you. Check this out. And when you get it, it's just the eyes light up. A feeling comes through your whole body. You can't believe that this is not just for the team themselves, but it's for everyone in the town who supports them, that sits there and you're enjoying action in front of you. It's no longer, look, Chase Stadium is okay, but we all know that this is 10 million times better than Chase Stadium. That's for sure.
I do have one bone to pick. One bone.
Here it comes.
To me, this is a big bone to pick. Chase Stadium was better in this one area. I can't believe they overlooked this, or they budget cut. There are no cup holders in the normal stands. Now, listen, and in the loge, in the fancy seats, I had 2 cup holders. Right, so that was different. But for everybody else, for everybody sitting on those plastic seats, which is fine, that's stadium seats are plastic, that's no big deal. They should have a cup holder. Chase Stadium had cup holders. You go to, and that may sound stupid. It may sound like you're just nitpicking, but for a club that says that the fan experience is their number one thing, like they want to make sure the fan experience is the best. Having to pick up your beer every single time somebody walks by is just a pain. And I know this is like first world problems, but this is a first world stadium. Come on. It's supposed to be state of the art. You can't give me a stupid cup holder? That is ridiculous. I saw Jorge Mas this weekend. I got to shake his hand, but he was being mobbed. If I had a moment, I would have asked him about the cup holders, but me and Ed were trying to have a word with him, but he was getting pulled in so many different directions. It didn't happen, but we shook his hand. I want to know where my cup holder is. Will they bring some cup holders in forward? Was this just, hey, we're rushing the stadium? Or again, is it a budget cut? I don't know. This is a huge oversight because if you think that fan experience is important, it may sound silly, but that matters.
It does. It really, really does. The smallest of details makes something so special and big.
It is. It is. I mean, it's all about the details. I mean, like, look, I can overlook the details of some decals falling off, of seats or rows not being properly numbered, like the row number medallion fell off. I can overlook some of that stuff, but because that's just put some double-sided sticky tape on it and it's good to go next week. But these other things, I think that's a huge miss. What will it stop me from going? Of course not. But
No.
I'm gonna be grumpy every single time somebody has to walk in by me because I am gonna have a beer.
Yeah, that's right. Get a beer, relax, put in the cup holder, watch what goes
What cup
on.
holder?
Take a sip.
What cup holder?
That's true. No cup holders. How about the match? 2-2 final for the first match ever at New Stadium. Sadly, it was an Austin FC player that got the first ever goal in the stadium.
Never hear the end of that. Never hear the end of that.
No. Look, I only say it for the truth. I don't say it just to needle you.
Even when it happened, I said, that's very unfortunate. That's it's going to go down in history as the first goal scored. Now, of course, I've seen some headlines of people trying to spin it. The first goal scored, Messi's first goal, in that new stadium. Some headlines worded it in a way that makes it sound like his goal was the first goal. And
yes, I know.
It was not. It was Inter Miami's first goal inside the new stadium.
Yes.
Was a Messi goal. But unfortunately, Austin definitely has that over us. And I guess they will forever because, I mean, it was a little bit of a letdown in the fact that it was a draw. You want to come out of this thing, have just the perfect night and winning. But it didn't tarnish, I don't think, anybody's experience because, opening a stadium like this is once in a lifetime. It was an amazing night. And but this team is starting the season slow. It was not a surprise. And even last year when we won MLS Cup, so many of the games, we went down a goal first. That just kind of was our thing. And most of the time, enough times at least, we came back to win. But that was not to be this time. So it was, it is what it is. Let's hope for a better experience this weekend.
Oh, we'll see what happens, obviously. And of course, Red Bull's coming in after a big win over Cincinnati. But still, though, Messi is Messi, and we all know he's going to lead that team to a victory no matter what. I have to tell you that I don't know if you saw it online or not, but that locker room that Inter Miami has is absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
That is like, you dream of a locker room like that it doesn't matter what sport it is. You dream for a locker room like that.
And it looks like from those videos, it looks like it's got a very high ceiling, which just seems odd, right? Because locker rooms generally aren't like that, because that could be considered wasted space that could be used for some other function in the stadium. And so, it just gives this grandiose feel to it for the players, the light colors, a very different contrast from at Chase Stadium. I did get an opportunity to go in the Chase locker room once, and it was very dark, which made sense. The team's colors are black and pink. Black made sense. Whereas this one's very light and bright, which does go well with the stadium. And also, it kind of plays well against the Marlins Stadium, which you can see from our stadium. It's just down the road, basically. So it plays well together with the architecture around there, the entire stadium aesthetic. So it's beautiful, beautiful locker room. Happy for the players. They seemed happy in that video. They seemed impressed.
Oh, I think so.
They've seen every locker room, right? So they were impressed.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was impressed too. I mean, you see Messi walk in like, I mean, I don't know what Barcelona's locker room was or whatever it looked like, but I'll probably tell you, their locker room is 10 million times better than what he probably saw at Barca.
Yeah, it might be. I've never seen it, but it was definitely impressive. So I give the Moss brothers a hard time about the cup holder, but they definitely did really, really well in so many other areas. Again, the VIP area, you go down to the new club, which was the
Mhm.
darker, if you watched our videos, the darker wood paneling area. Very swanky, very nice. All glass on the first on the upper floor, the West Club, all glass, so you could, in theory, hang out in there and still see some of the game. They have an outdoor bar there as well, outdoor facing bar. It's very convenient for the fans. So they definitely took the fans into consideration. I do know on the east side, which I will see this coming weekend, they have what's considered the longest bar in all of, I think,
Mhm.
stadiums. They said it's like a super long bar. So
Mhm.
great for fan experience there as well. So it looks like they thought of a lot of things for the fans and the players, which is great. I'm curious what the visiting locker room looks like. Does it look as nice? Does it have the high ceilings? I wonder.
Probably not.
Probably
Probably
not.
not, but you never
Probably
know.
not.
Probably not.
Yeah,
Probably
exactly.
not. No,
Yeah.
but look, it's okay. It's all that matters is what's good for Miami players that play for the team. That's all that matters. So, just to go back to the transit situation, of course,
Okay.
that little bridge, when you walk away from the Tri-Rail station,
Hmm.
there is that little foot road bridge, obviously, that goes over that little canal.
Yep.
Are they building another footbridge
Yes.
that's closer?
Yes.
Okay.
So it was always part of the plan to build a bridge that links the intermodal center, the train station, directly to the stadium grounds. I don't know to what part of the
Mhm.
stadium. I don't think it's going to, attach you to the actual concourse, but
Mhm.
yeah. So
Mhm.
there is definitely going to be a walking bridge. I don't, and again, they haven't shown any concept art of what it will look like. I don't know if it attaches directly to, the second floor of the airport where the people from the Metro Rail and things like that are coming in. Is it, literally just like you're going to have to walk up steps and over and down steps? It's not a busy road, but you have to obviously go across a little bit of water. So it's needed. But yes, it was supposedly cost around $5 million. It was an estimate that I read somewhere. And I did hear that they're planning on having it done by June. I don't know if I
Oh,
believe that, because that's so soon and they haven't even started. But I did hear some rumors, nothing official, but just some rumors that it could be done by June. But I wouldn't, expect that. For now, what you have to do is you cross the street. There's cops there to help you. You walk down the side of the Sheraton Hotel. So you have to walk around the hotel basically, and then there's like
mhm.
some, like water. I keep calling it a water treatment, but it's not that. It's like a um, levee system or something like that. And there is a
Right.
little bridge.
Right.
Now, all
Mhm.
this area leading up to that was gravel the entire several years that we were doing construction videos. That was all gravel. So it's been recently paved, which is nice. So you've
Mhm.
got a nice paved footpath all the way over there. So
Mhm.
and then once you get across that bridge, they're still detouring you quite a bit because of construction. So you're
Right.
walking around some parking lots and then around some construction and going through to the over by the garage, which then gives you more of a direct path, safe path to the
Right.
stadium. So it's a bit of a hike now, but it's definitely doable. And I didn't see a single person complain. There were some comments in one of our videos if they about having an ADA vehicle. From what the website says, there is an ADA vehicle there. So you just have to, I guess, ask. And there were workers there that you could ask. I didn't ask about that, but reports are there is a vehicle for those people that need it.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
That's really, really great. Great. I'm glad to hear that. Well,
That's how
anyway,
I'm getting to
Peter.
the stadium. That's how I'm getting there
Oh,
from now on.
yep.
That's,
Yeah.
you know,
No, listen, Tri-Rail. Just do it. Just get on your
you know,
Tri-Rail, head on back, head on down.
the one thing that it could be considered a little bit of a negative is, I'm getting back pretty late to the home, right? Because the train waiting that extra 30 minutes, so it waited an hour. I'm on the train going, all right, you can go now, right? Because I'm on the train, right? But
Yes.
there is somebody obviously that the waiting was very beneficial for. So it's good that they did wait. So it did take maybe a little bit longer, or maybe I would have been in traffic, but at least I wasn't frustrated at the end of the day. It was smooth, it was easy, and so that's the way to go. $5 round trip, come on.
Yeah, come on, $5.
I mean, the other
250 one way, 250 other.
Look, the other option that is also a partner with Inter Miami is Brightline. So the high speed commuter rail system. So Brightline's station is 6 miles away, so it's a little further away. So and that was a similar situation at Chase Stadium. With Chase Stadium, they set up between the team and Brightline a bus that would take you from the Brightline station to the stadium. That is not happening here at New Stadium.
Right.
They're going to take you to the Brightline station, and it's up to you. Get an Uber, what have you.
Yep.
Brightline was $27 one way, and then coming home, it was going to be over $40 to come home. They upcharged you for that late train. Plus, you're also going to have your Uber. So it's going to be a much more expensive. In that case, I would just go and park. But it's some people. It's a nicer experience. It is a very clean. It is the VIP experience compared to the kind of everyman experience at Tri-Rail. But the cost, you can't compare. No,
you can't compare. And look, I've already taken Brightline several times. I've taken Tri-Rail several times. Obviously, look, I'm a train guy, so it doesn't matter to me which train I take. As long as it gets me to my destination that I need to go to, I'll take it. It's fine by me. I don't care.
Yeah, I hadn't ridden a train, commuter train, really ever until I was 6 months ago. I did some videos on how to get to the stadium, how I was assuming you would get to the stadium because there were no details at that point. So it's kind of like I took Brightline and then I figured it out on my own. I did not Uber. I found my way to a Metro Rail station and then took the Metro Rail that way. So there are other options. But before that, I had never really ridden a train. And the funny thing is, when I arrived back at the Pompano station, I was filming my outro. A couple guys came up to me and asked if I had a channel. I said, yeah. They asked, is it a train channel or an Inter Miami channel? Said, no, it's an Inter Miami channel. It's only a train video because it's Inter Miami's way to get to the stadium. But that was, I thought, a funny question. Are you a train channel? Or because apparently that's a big thing. People like you, Daniel, that just love trains.
It is. No, listen, look, if you go on YouTube, you type it up, you see people train fanning, it's called. They're fans of trains. Doesn't matter where you are. It could be New York, could be Boston, Philadelphia, now South Florida. Sunrail, of course, is in Orlando. Any of the metropolitan cities that have their own trains. I mean, where I was in New York, New Jersey, whether it be the Metro North that goes to up in Westchester County, Putnam County, it even goes into Connecticut too. New Jersey Transit has trains all over the state. The Long Island Railroad, they will take their cameras, they'll wait for the train, and then it comes and goes. Or if they're at the station and it stops, they'll watch it arrive at the station and then watch the people go off, watch the new people go on, and they'll depart. So, yeah. I mean, there's a guy on Facebook. His name is JF Transit, and he does New York City and he does Philadelphia, New Jersey. And, he shows me the stations where I used to live. And it's just great seeing my old neighborhood because it's not just the train that comes in. Oh, there's John's place. Oh, there's Kathy's place. Oh, there's Ben's place. It's great.
I guess I have a future for a second channel now. I can make a Miami train station.
Yes, you do.
Video.
Exactly. You can go up and down the Tri-Rails. You can also add, well, if you want to go to an Inter Miami game with Tri-Rail, this will take you this long. It's crazy. It's that. Look, we all have hobbies. We all want to make sure it gets done the right way. And look,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So you're taking the train again. That's it. No more driving down to new stadium. You're just going to take the train, and that's it.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I could foresee a situation where there may be a weekday game where because they did lay out that what games they are having trains go. There might be a few that they're not having a late train, for example. I think it was more so
Right.
because these are earlier games, so a late train wasn't necessary. But we'll find out. I
Right.
mean, if a weekday game makes because coming from an hour away from the stadium, if it makes more sense to get there quicker using my car, I'll do that if I have to. But those are rare occasions. So on for the most part, yeah, I'm riding the rails.
There you go. Look, man after my own heart now. Look at this.
Yeah.
I know nothing of what you speak of. Oh, is that what it is? A train? Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, it was fun. It was definitely fun, and especially if you're on a train full of like-minded people, right? Because everybody,
Exactly.
so many of the people there are going to the game. So it was really surprising to see how many people did it, though.
Yep.
And including the Metro Rail, because when leaving the stadium, I was with a mass exodus of people, and to go in the Metro Rail, you kind of went straight. And to go on the Tri-Rail, you had to veer a little bit to the right, to that side of the station.
Yes.
More people actually were going straight to the Metro Rail. So that's a lot of Miami people that decided, I'm not paying $50 a park. I'll pay whatever the Metro Rail is, which is way cheaper. And even if I have to stand, it's no big deal. And so there was a lot of people doing that as well. So, it was definitely a no-brainer.
Yeah. Yep, definitely not a brainer at all. Peter, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're now a new train fan, and hopefully we'll catch each other on the rails if we do.
Come on down to New Stadium.
Oh, I'll definitely be there this weekend. That's for sure. Got to wait for the AOK first, but I'm definitely heading on down.
All right, sounds good.
As always, Peter, thank you very much for your time. And I know Ed's watching, and Ed, I hope you enjoyed your time too, man. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope.
Yeah, he did. He definitely did. So
yeah,
I was there.
I thought I was going to faint. I thought I was going to faint in the earlier part of the videos. After he saw the bling, I thought he was going to faint right there. He's going to lose the camera.
yeah. We I mean, obviously we knew it was going to happen, but it was definitely really, really cool. And the deal was, he was filming, so that means I got to be the model, because I think he could have probably made it more fun, because Ed is more funny than I am. So he could have probably made it more fun, but he was the one filming, so I have to be, and I'm more of the straight man, I guess. But it is what it is.
It is what
next time maybe he'll wear the bling.
Okay, next time we'll see what happens. All right, Peter, thank you again for your time. I appreciate it, and have a good night. Okay.
All right, thanks, Daniel.
All right, take care. That's Peter Brown, Futbol Miami TV. As of course, Inter Miami was a 2-2 draw against Austin FC, but the number one thing is Inter Miami has a new stadium, of course, and it looks like it's a doozy, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, the man himself and his partner, Futbol Miami TV. Go to check them out on YouTube or on their website. Time to talk about the New York Red Bulls now and their match, of course, against FC Cincinnati. Before I do, let me just do this real quick, because I promised I would. Mr., if I'm going to read his name correctly here, Mr. Alexander Ramirez Jr., there's your shout out right there. Hope that you have a great day, sir. Sorry it took this long, but had to take care of the business. But anyway, Red Bull review time, as the New York Red Bulls are home taking on FC Cincinnati, and it's a 4-2 victory for the New York Red Bulls, and it's Julian Hall who opened the scoring, working well that right side of the Red Bulls. Of course, we're talking about Cade Cowell and Shaquille Marshall-Ruddy, how they're able to move down that far side, and they're able to convert that chance for Julian Hall in the 12th minute to make it 1-0. Of course, Pavel Buka was able to level the score 5 minutes later to make it 1-1, and it was all even through towards the halftime whistle. And then as soon as the second half begins, already a foul about a yard and a half away from the Cincinnati area. And it would be the captain, Emil Forsberg, who buried his chance with the free kick. Another superb free kick, first of the season for Emil Forsberg in the 48th minute to make it 2-1 Red Bulls. And then once again, it's Cade Cowell with Marshall Ruddy on the right side. Cowell challenging two defenders, finally makes a turn and a run towards the end line. Hard cross. Kevin Smith tried to stop it for Cincinnati, couldn't, puts the ball in the back of his own net. Own goal for Cincinnati, 3-1 for the Red Bulls. And then Kevin Smith makes amends to make it 3-2 in the 72nd minute. But in second half stoppage time, it would be Mohamed Sofo to get the last goal of the match and make it 4-2. Alvis Powell went after Omar Valencia on a break, trying to make it 5. And unfortunately for Powell, that was a dog-so moment, denying of a goal-scoring opportunity, and he gets the straight red card, taking out Omar Valencia. And the New York Red Bulls get their third win of the season. They're 3-1-2 for 10 points. Currently in seventh place due to the goal differential situation. Nashville leads the Eastern Conference with 13 points. But once again, it was an extraordinary match and a solid one. Look, I'll be fair here. The Red Bulls still need some more seasoning, obviously. They did get the victory, and that's a great thing. But you need to see a little bit better play in transition, passing, because some of the passes did not make it, and they led to offensive moments for FC Cincinnati, even though they couldn't finish themselves. And so it looks like Cincinnati is going to have some issues finishing this season, even though they are still a dangerous team. So give Cincinnati credit for playing it hard as always. But once again, they are still a dangerous side moving forward. And we just have to be, more aware of that. And of course, this upcoming weekend, the Red Bulls will be down in Miami to take on Inter Miami at the new stadium. So great segue there. And that should be exciting, a lot of fun. And we'll see what Michael Bradley will have up his sleeve for the New York Red Bulls so far. At the moment, solid victory. It should have been better. Could have been a lot better. At the same time, Cincinnati should have, at the same time, Cincinnati should have punished the Red Bulls when they had those opportunities. They did not. And that's why the Red Bulls got the win. They were not punished for poor passes and getting your pocket picked. So what are you going to do? But anyway, all you have to say is the New York Red Bulls were able to get the victory. And right now they are 3-1-2. 3 wins, a draw, and 2 losses. But they're going to have their hands full with Inter Miami down in South Florida. I want to thank my guests tonight, Ben Jacobs from Give Me Sport, and of course, Pieter Brown from Futbol Miami TV. My name is Daniel Feuerstein. Once again, thank you very much for watching me tonight. Hope all of you enjoyed tonight's show. And as always, please, 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 please enjoy your football. Thank you. Take care. So long. And have a good night. And bye-bye for now. Have a good night, everybody.